Welcome back to my YouTube channel, COINSX History US. Stop scrolling right now because the half-dollar coins you're about to see could be worth thousands of dollars. Most people think half-dollars are just old pocket change. But what if I told you that 3 rare half-dollar coins are still hiding in collections, drawers, and even bank rolls today? In this video, I'll reveal the top 3 most valuable half-dollar coins that collectors are desperately searching for. These coins aren't just money, they're pieces of American history, and their values are shocking. One small detail, one tiny mint mark, or one rare year can turn an ordinary-looking half-dollar into a life-changing treasure. Imagine holding a coin that looks ordinary to the untrained eye, but carries inside it a deep story of American heritage, political change, evolving minting technology, and the hidden pursuit of perfection that most collectors never notice until it is almost too late. And today we open the story of the 1994 half-dollar coin that emerged silently from the presses of the United States Mint during a time when half-dollars were disappearing from everyday life, yet rising in importance for collectors, investors, and historians who understood that this coin was not just money, but a symbol of a shifting nation. And by the time you finish this journey, you will look at the 1994 Kennedy half-dollar with completely new eyes, because behind this one single issue lies a chain reaction of events stretching from 1964 to the modern era, shaping metal decisions, minting strategies, national memory, and the long-lasting legacy of John F. Kennedy, whose profile on this coin has become one of the most recognized and respected icons in American numismatics. And now let us begin the long story that turns this simple half-dollar into a true historical witness of its time, and a treasure worth studying for 2 hours straight without ever losing interest as we dive into its creation, its meaning, its production, its varieties, and its true hidden place in American coinage history. The story starts with the memory of President John F. Kennedy, whose assassination in 1963 shook the nation and led to the creation of the Kennedy half-dollar in 1964 as a national tribute. And although that first year was struck in 90% silver, the years that followed slowly transformed the coin. As the silver era faded and the modern clad era began changing not only the look and feel of the half-dollar, but also its role in American pocket circulation patterns and collector demand. And by the 1990s, the Kennedy half-dollar was no longer a common sight in everyday transactions, and the U.S. Mint knew that circulation demand had collapsed. Banks ordered far fewer rolls, and the public rarely used them, meaning that coins like the 1994 Kennedy half-dollar were struck mostly for collector needs rather than daily commerce. And this is important because coins produced with lower circulation demand sometimes tell a richer story. They represent a shift in public behavior, a moment when a coin transitions from a circulating workhorse to a collector-driven issue, and the 1994 half-dollar is exactly from that historical moment, a kind of silent marker of a dying circulation coin now living on for numismatic purposes. We move deeper into the year 1994. We find the U.S. Mint operating in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and each one played a unique role in the life of this coin. Philadelphia struck the regular circulation coins with no mint mark. Denver produced coins with a D mark, continuing the long history of half-dollar production from the Rocky Mountain region. And San Francisco dedicated itself to the proof strikes, coins made with a mirror-like finish and sharper details designed specifically for collectors, building on the tradition of perfection that the proof line is known for. And each mint contributed to the full picture of the 1994 Kennedy half-dollar, giving collectors 3 distinct options, each with slightly different minting conditions, die preparation, and visual appearance, but all sharing the same purpose: to keep the half-dollar alive in the American numismatic world, even if the public had stopped using it in daily life. When we examine the design, we return to the hands of the artists who created this coin and the legacy behind their choices. The obverse features the familiar portrait of President Kennedy sculpted by Gilroy Roberts, who captured the young, energetic spirit of the president in a strong, clean profile. that has remained essentially unchanged across decades, and that stability gives collectors a visual timeline stretching through history, because the Kennedy half-dollar design is one of the most consistent in modern U.S. coinage, and on the reverse, Frank Gasparo's presidential seal design stands bold and powerful, showcasing the eagle arrow's olive branch and shield, a design meant to symbolize strength, leadership, and peace, and by 1994 this design had already become a classic, representing not only Kennedy, but the vision of America itself during the Cold War and post-Cold War era. Coin's composition adds another layer to its history, because by 1994 the half-dollar had long left behind the silver content that originally defined it, and instead used a clad structure consisting of copper and nickel bonded around a pure copper core, a cost-saving approach that aligned with the modern U.S. mint strategy of keeping coins durable, affordable, and stable in large-scale production. Yet even though the coin contained no silver, it still held strong collector value due to its design, its historical legacy, and its limited circulation presence, making it a kind of modern collectible that appealed to new generations of coin hunters who saw the half-dollar as mysterious, rare in the wild, and important to American identity. As we explore the minting process itself, we discover the story of how these coins were created, from blank preparation to die polishing to striking pressure and release. And the 1994 half-dollar stands as a product of advanced minting technology of the 90s, a time when automation, greater quality control, and improved die life techniques made coins sharper, cleaner, and more uniform than earlier decades. And this era of improved minting introduced a new level of consistency and reliability that collectors today study under magnification, comparing small die differences, looking for double dies, weak strikes, strong strikes, and subtle minting quirks that turn ordinary coins into rare finds worth significantly more than face value. In the case of the 1994 Kennedy half-dollar, the main collectible varieties come from proof strikes, cameo effects, deep cameo finishes, die rotations, minor placket flaws, and striking anomalies, all of which attract serious collectors because they reveal the coin's production environment and capture one-in-a-million moments in the minting process, and dedicated collectors often search through thousands of coins, hoping to spot these special varieties that transform a common clad half-dollar into a piece worth grading, preserving, and showcasing in their collections. We move into the broader economic background surrounding the 1994 issue, a time when the United States economy was stabilizing after the challenges of the late 80s, interest rates, inflation, and global economic changes, and the mint responded to shifts in cash usage trends by adjusting production numbers, especially for denominations that were no longer heavily used, and by the mid-90s, the half-dollar fell exactly into that category, resulting in lower business strike outputs compared to more popular denominations like quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, and this decline explains why 1994 half-dollars hold a special place in the collector market, as part of the late-century group of lower production circulation issues, forming a pattern that future collectors recognized as historically significant. As we advance through the timeline of the coin's life, we also encounter its role in the growing coin collecting boom of the 1990s, when millions of Americans were rediscovering the hobby thanks to coin shows, televised auctions, earlier internet forums, and expanding collector guides. And the Kennedy half-dollar remained one of the most beloved modern series, especially for beginners, because it offered beauty, history, affordability, and a sense of patriotic pride, and the 1994 edition became one of the stepping stones for those entering the world of numismatics, giving new collectors a chance to obtain a clean modern example without high-cost barriers, while also learning about mint marks, finishes, varieties, and grading level. Speaking of grading, the 1994 half-dollar is widely studied in mint state and proof grades, with high-level MS66, MS67, and PR69 or PR70 deep cameo examples achieving strong demand in the market, because the difference between an ordinary and a premium grade can be dramatic in both appearance and value, and graders carefully examine luster, surface, Cleanliness strikes sharpness and overall eye appeal when determining these top-tier evaluations, meaning that the 1994 half dollar becomes more than a simple coin. It becomes a measure of minting quality, preservation skill, and collector expertise. We continue deeper into this story. We see how the Kennedy half-dollar series, including the 1994 issue, provides a continuous historical record linking generations together from the 1960s through the 1990s into the 2000s and beyond, as each edition reflects changes in technology, politics, economics, and public behavior, making the series one of the most complete and culturally meaningful in U.S. coinage history. And by understanding the place of the 1994 half dollar inside this chain, we understand not only the coin itself, but the evolving identity of the United States during its time. 1994 half dollar today stands as a collectible with a unique historical position. A modern yet nostalgic coin, a piece struck at a moment of transition, when the half dollar moved away from circulation and deeper into the collector world, and a coin that honors the legacy of President John F. Kennedy while preserving decades of minting craftsmanship and American symbolism. And when collectors hold it, now they do not simply see clad metal, they see a timeline, a tribute, a quiet chapter of history preserved in their hands, and a reminder that every coin, no matter how modern or simple, has a story worth telling for hours.
All right, imagine the camera slowly zooms in on a shiny silver coin resting under a warm golden light. The words half dollar 1995 glowing as if guarding a mystery forgotten by time. Then your voice begins, smooth, powerful, and magnetic. Have you ever wondered what stories lie within a simple coin? What if I told you that the 1995 half dollar isn't just a piece of metal, it's a gateway into American history, a silent witness of a nation's pride and progress, a coin that represents change, artistry, politics, and value, all melted into one small circle of silver beauty. Welcome to the untold story of the 1995 half dollar, a story that will take you through decades of craftsmanship, secrets of the United States Mint, and the cultural power hidden behind every strike. This isn't just about a coin, it's about America's evolving spirit, about collectors chasing perfection, and about how one coin can reveal the rise of modern numismatics. Now, let's begin this journey from the very beginning. The 1995 half dollar, also known as the Kennedy half dollar, was part of a series that began in 1964, following the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. His image replaced Benjamin Franklin's on the coin by the order of the United States Mint and Congress to honor the fallen leader. The 1995 issue was struck more than 30 years after that event, yet it carried the same emotional legacy that had defined the coin since its birth in the early 60s. But by 1995, the half dollar had become more symbolic than practical. It was rarely used in everyday transactions. Many Americans considered it more of a collector's piece than circulating money. And that perception shaped the minting strategy. The United States Mint produced several versions that year from the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, as well as special proof issues from San Francisco, each mint mark telling a different story. In Philadelphia, no mint mark appeared on the coin. Its mintage reached tens of millions, ensuring it was available but not always seen in circulation. The Denver Mint added the small letter D, marking its identity, while the San Francisco Mint created the premium proof coins with their mirror-like finishes and deep cameo. Contrast collectors cherished these proof strikes, often packaged in elegant boxes, representing the finest craftsmanship of the mint. But there was something special about 1995. The coinage of this year stood at the crossroads between tradition and innovation, between the classic engraving of the Kennedy portrait and the modern production technologies that began shaping the Mint's operations during the 1990s. The obverse still bore the iconic bust of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, a sculptor who immortalized Kennedy's profile with incredible realism, capturing not only his likeness but his dignity and youth. The reverse remained unchanged too, a heraldic eagle by Frank Gasparo, symbolizing the strength and freedom of the United States. The combination of these two designs had already become one of the most recognized and enduring in American coinage history. But what makes the 1995 half dollar so fascinating isn't only its design, it's the context of its creation. The 1990s marked a time when the American mint system was evolving, adapting to new technologies and preparing for the 21st century. Coin collectors were growing in number, Coin shows were booming and grading companies like PCGs and NGC were setting new standards for coin quality and authenticity. The 1995 Kennedy half dollar entered this dynamic environment. It became one of the coins that bridged the gap between the casual collector and the professional numismatist, with millions searching for the perfect strike free from scratches with sharp details on Kennedy's hair and the eagle's feathers, and those proof versions from San Francisco became the pride of countless coin albums glowing like mirrors under light, revealing perfection through every curve of its polished surface. But there's a deeper layer to its story. While the half dollar was losing its role in daily commerce, it was gaining a cultural one. It symbolized patriotism, memory, and nostalgia. For many Americans who had grown up seeing Kennedy's face not only on their coins, but in their history books and family stories, the 1995 issue carried that emotion into a new generation, serving as both a keepsake and a link to the pastas. The year when the United States Mint also experimented with different sets and packaging. The 1995 proof set became particularly valuable when paired with silver proof versions. Collectors noticed subtle variations in finish and toning, making each piece slightly unique. Some coins showed light frosted details, others deeper mirrors, and those small variations became points of fascination for coin graders and historians. The economic side of the coin was equally interesting. While its face value remained 50 cents, its collectible value grew over time, driven by its pristine condition, limited proofs, and historical appeal, especially when certified in high grades like Proof 70 or Mint State 67. And above, such coins could fetch prices far beyond their denomination, becoming investment pieces rather than pocket change. To truly appreciate the 1995 half dollar, one must also see it as a symbol of an era. The mid-1990s were a time of change. The United States was experiencing economic growth, globalization was rising, technology was reshaping society, and even coins were beginning to reflect that transition. The Mint introduced better quality control laser technology for die creation and new packaging for collectors. The Kennedy half dollar, though traditional in design, became a canvas for precision modern minting and enduring national symbolism. It stood as a reminder of American legacy. In a fast-changing world today, when collectors hold a 1995 half dollar, they are not just holding a coin. They are holding history. They are holding the weight of memory, craftsmanship, and pride. Each coin struck in that year connects back to the ideals of President Kennedy, his dream of progress, his spirit of unity, and the resilience of a nation that honored him through this enduring piece of metal, from the first die struck to the final polish applied in San Francisco. The 1995 half dollar remains a silent storyteller, whispering tales of art, politics, and passion that continue to echo through time. All right, listen up, coin lovers, because what you're about to hear will change the way you look at the half dollar forever. This is not just a story about a 50-cent coin. It's a journey through American history, through artistry, metal, and meaning. The 1977 half dollar is a coin that sits quietly in pockets and drawers, but behind its simple shine lies a world of politics, power, design, and purpose. A coin born from a nation still echoing from the memory of a fallen president, a time when America's spirit was rebuilding its strength through symbols like the Kennedy half dollar. This coin was not just currency, it was a message of unity, honor, and pride. And today we're diving deep into every layer of it, from the minting floors to the artist's desk, from the rare varieties that slipped into circulation to the stories hidden within its metallic soul. The 1977 Kennedy half dollar carries more than just copper and nickel. It carries a nation's emotion, minted at Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. This coin represents a legacy that started in 1964 after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, when Americans wanted something tangible to hold on to, something that symbolized hope and respect. The U.S. Mint responded quickly, creating a coin that bore his image sculpted by Gilroy Roberts for the obverse and Frank Gasparo for the reverse, featuring the presidential seal. But by 1977, much had changed. The silver had long vanished from circulation. The coin's metallic makeup had shifted to copper-nickel-clad composition, and its presence in the hands of everyday Americans was slowly fading away as inflation and the shift toward smaller change reduced the need for half dollars. Yet the 1977 issue is fascinating because it stands at the intersection of nostalgia and modernity. Its design was the same, but its purpose was changing. Collectors were keeping them. Banks were ordering fewer. The mint still struck them, but fewer people saw them in use. What's more intriguing is how the mint continued to produce proof versions at San Francisco in stunning mirror finishes. Each one a time capsule of craftsmanship, precision, and national pride. To understand the full story, you have to step back into the economic atmosphere of the late 70s. The United States was going through inflation, uncertainty, and shifting trust in traditional money. The value of coins in people's minds was declining, yet the Kennedy half-dollar remained. A proud exception still viewed as a piece of history, rather than simple change. By this time, minting techniques were improving. Presses were faster, engravings sharper, and quality control tighter. And that made the 1977 issue one of the better struck. Clad half-dollars of the decade, still certain varieties stood out. Coins with stronger strikes, cleaner fields, or slight die variations that collectors would later identify as rarities. These tiny details turned an ordinary 50-cent piece into a treasure hunt. And then there's the human story behind it. In 1977, Americans still felt a deep connection to the Kennedy name. The country was healing from years of political scandal and division, and in the midst of that, the coin continued to act as a reminder of what leadership once meant. The design with Kennedy's forward gaze, his youthful energy, and the presidential seal was not just art, it was symbolism. The belief that the ideals of service, honor, and courage lived on in the hearts of the people. The 1977 half-dollar was minted in massive quantities, over 43 million in Philadelphia, more than 31 million in Denver, and about 25 million proof coins in San Francisco. Yet despite the numbers, it rarely appeared in pocket change. The U.S. Mint shipped most to banks where they sat idle or were returned. This scarcity in circulation has since made even circulated examples feel nostalgic for collectors today. The condition and luster of these coins vary widely, and uncirculated or proof versions remain popular, especially among those building full Kennedy series sets from 1964 onward. The coin's physical details reflect mid-century American ideals. The obverse with the portrait of John F. Kennedy facing left, marked with the date 1977 and mint mark below the neck. The reverse featuring the heraldic eagle inspired by the presidential seal surrounded by 50 stars. Every curve line and texture of the coin captures a moment in American design philosophy. It's clean, symmetrical, and bold, designed to endure and reflect national dignity. The composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel over a pure copper core gave it that signature silver-like shine without the precious metal value, but with remarkable resilience that allowed it to withstand decades of handling. If we trace how the half-dollar evolved, we see that by 1977 it had become more commemorative than practical. People didn't spend it often. It was used in casinos, collector's sets, or kept as keepsakes. The coin's large size made it awkward for daily use, but perfect for display, and its design made it a sentimental piece that many associated with patriotism and memory, and this shift from currency to collectible defines its modern legacy in the grand timeline of American coinage. The 1977 half-dollar marks the end of one era and the quiet continuation of another era, where design integrity and symbolism mattered as much as economic utility, where each mint mark told a different story, and where even a common coin could carry uncommon meaning today. When collectors examine a 1977 half-dollar, they're not just holding metal. They're holding continuity from a time when coins were more than transactions. They were tributes to history. So as we dive deeper into this 2-hour journey, we'll explore how each element of the 1977 Kennedy half-dollar connects with broader stories in American history, the politics of its creation, the artistry behind its engraving, the economics of its minting, and the emotional legacy it carries to this day. We'll talk about the proof coins, the mint sets, the varieties, the grading, the market values, and the secret details that only experts notice, because this isn't just a coin, it's a window into a nation's past.